Good morning and welcome to an interview session with Now Jakarta. I'm Alistair Spears, acting on behalf of Now Jakarta, and as you can see behind me also MVB, our sustainability program. It's a great pleasure to welcome this morning His Excellency Kurt Kunz, the Ambassador of Switzerland to Indonesia, Timor Leste and ASEAN. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Spears. Thank you for...
It's a great pleasure. Great pleasure to have you on board. We're going to have quite an extensive interview, keeping the points short, sharp, and informative. But before we start, I'd very much like you to tell me a little bit about your history. How did you end up in Indonesia? Are you a career diplomat, or what's your background? That would be really interesting to our viewers and listeners.
Thank you very much. I have been studying social sciences, and after this started working as a delegate at the International Committee of the Red Cross, where I was assigned to El Salvador in Central America, and later on being in charge of the relief program for the Horn of Africa out of ICRC's headquarters. I entered the Foreign Service of Switzerland, was posted for the training period in Ottawa in Canada and also in Geneva. And my first posting was in Brasilia, 4 years. Then we went to Vienna. From Vienna, we left for Bern, where I was assigned to the section dealing with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. From Bern, already in the year 2000, I went as deputy head of mission to the Swiss mission to NATO in Brussels. Then 5 years later, I was deputy head of embassy in Madrid. From Madrid, in 2010, I went to Bern, to headquarters, back as Assistant Director General for Development Cooperation. I was in charge of Switzerland's cooperation with the East, stretching from Central Asia through the Caucasus, Ukraine, Moldova, and Southeastern Europe, and new EU countries. After Bern, I was posted as ambassador in Colombia for 4 years. This was my posting immediately before I arrived to Indonesia, which is already, again, 2 years ago now. Now I'm here, and I'm very pleased to be in such an interesting and challenging country.
Well, you certainly come at a very challenging time, but in fact, no matter which country you are posted to at the moment, it would be challenging.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Indonesia is exciting all the time, but with COVID, it's very challenging. Now, I've been looking at the information which your embassy has given me, and there is a great deal of activity amongst the Swiss delegation and the Swiss companies and the Swiss organizations in Indonesia. It seems that there really is a lot of attention being paid to Indonesia by Switzerland at the moment. Can you tell us a little bit of the background and the substance to this?
Yeah, thank you very much. As a matter of fact, I have also been looking into this, and I became aware that Switzerland had a consulate already back in the year 1868 in the then Jakarta. After Indonesia's independence, we very quickly started with a development cooperation program in 72, which was putting strong emphasis on promoting vocational education and training. Switzerland's development cooperation has been phasing out in the end, towards the end of the 90s. And in 2009, we had Switzerland's economic cooperation coming in, which is now here with one of our country's biggest programs on this world, with around $75 million for a period of 4 years. So this makes already a good chunk of what we do here in Indonesia. What we also have is a Swiss business hub, which was established now 3 years ago already, which is taking into account the potential and possibilities of fostering bilateral trade relations, in creating contacts, in helping to find partners which are of interest for companies from Switzerland, but also from Indonesia. So this is coming in addition to the conventional functions of an embassy, and makes that we have, as you say, quite a broad array of activities here at this embassy.
And of course, we'll come back to the companies later, because there's some very successful names that are operating here in Indonesia. Yeah. But let's look at the country itself. Indonesians, those who are able to afford to travel internationally, are very interested in Switzerland, because it just is such a different country to here. I mean, it's the freshness, the mountains, the organization. But from a Swiss point of view, what perception is there of Indonesia? Indonesians have a great perception of the efficiency and cleanliness and organization of Switzerland. What's the reverse like?
Well, I think the same impression of esteem and curiosity and friendliness esteems also from the Swiss side. I think so. Switzerland is maybe exotic for people, for Indonesian citizens, but for Swiss citizens, Indonesia is also there is a lot to be discovered here, and we have, for example, we have an Angklung orchestra, Angklung Orchestra Padasuka in Zurich, founded already back in 1980. It promotes traditional Indonesian music in Switzerland, and dedicates its proceeds later to aid agencies in Switzerland and in Indonesia. And we also have a music school which teaches gamelan in Sion. So just imagine, so far away, you have people learning Angklung, orchestra playing Angklung, and you have an orchestra also playing gamelan. Right now, we have in the museum Rietberg, close to Zurich, an exhibition on Javanese shadow theater, which is called Stories About Life and the World. We have many tourists coming from Switzerland to Indonesia, I think around 50,000 or even more a year. Not now because of COVID, but in a normal year. So there is a lot of interest and curiosity to know better this country.
Good, and I know that you have been of great assistance to Indonesia after we've had the various disasters that Indonesia goes through all the time because of being on the ring of fire. You've been great assistance after the tsunami and the earthquake and Lombok and Palu. So we know that the interest, not just the interest there, is the activity is there as well to help, which is fantastic.
That's true, and we try. One lesson we learned is we should not only be engaging when a catastrophe is happening. It is appropriate to maintain contacts also in normal times, in order to exchange lessons learned, experiences, also thinking about concepts in disaster management. And we are aiming at signing pretty soon memorandum of understanding on this subject, which gives us a basis to cooperate also during normal times and not just after a catastrophe.
In fact, I'm aware of the fact that there is a Swiss agency which is helping Indonesia to develop their new the new destinations with Indonesia according to Swiss and international standards. Is that something that you are particularly happy with? The fact that you're helping directly Indonesia's tourism?
This is part of our economic cooperation program. tourism promotion is an element of our program. We are working with Indonesia in refining its concepts for 3 of the 10 new Balis. This is a goal this country has set itself. And we are also working on a vocational and education training technicum in Lombok, which is training people in tourism and reception skills. We know from our own experience what an important role tourism can play. And as you have been mentioning earlier on already, Switzerland is also known for its natural beauties. We know also how much it is important to take care of these natural beauties, to maintain its beauty, to maintain also its typicality, with its culture. And there is something we can offer. And this is why it has also been chosen as a field of cooperation.
It's very good. That's exactly what Indonesia needs, is to improve its regional destination management. And I'm sure that your models are extremely good.
For us, it's very important to have, to stress principle of sustainability, of sustainable tourism, and also of involving the communities around living in the vicinity. So not to have tourism spots coming in from the outside, being isolated and separated from their environment. So these are basic issues we are following.
Of course, tourism is at an all-time low worldwide at the moment due to the one subject we haven't brought up yet, but we have to approach now, which is COVID-19. What's been the experience in Switzerland with COVID, if I may ask, Ambassador? And are there lessons that could have been learned, or could still be learned from Switzerland in Indonesia? And while you're thinking about that, how have Swiss companies in Indonesia adapted to the situation here? That's a very complicated question, but that's all COVID related. How are we coping in Switzerland? How can you help Indonesia? And what are Swiss companies doing here, both to help themselves and to help their communities?
Yeah. Well, as so many countries, Switzerland has been hit very strongly also by COVID, and extraordinary measures have had to be taken. Our government decided on a comprehensive package of measures worth over $60 billion US, which is close to 10% of our brutto inland product. These measures were meant to cushion the economic consequences of the spread of the coronavirus. The measures aim at different target groups and want to contribute to avoid layoffs, to maintain employment, to secure wages, and to assist the self-employed. For Switzerland, and when you ask lessons learned, I think COVID teaches us again on how much we depend on one and each other. And for Switzerland, it is also again a proof that we need a strong and a reliable multilateral system. Together with Indonesia and other partners, Switzerland presented the draft resolution Global Solidarity to Fight COVID-19, which was then adopted by the UN General Assembly early April. On the 75th anniversary of the UN in June, the Swiss foreign minister strongly voiced the need of a coordinated response in order to overcome such crises together. My government has decided to support the international appeals in the connection with the fight against COVID and its consequences, with a total of around $400 million US. Thanks to such support, UNDP's office here in Indonesia has been able to redeploy resources and to receive additional funds from its headquarters. I know also from several Swiss companies here that they have graciously donated either financial contributions or offered also substantial services to combat consequences of COVID. Swiss Cham, the Swiss Chamber of Commerce here in Indonesia, has made a survey. You asked how Swiss companies have been faring. Has launched a survey with Swiss companies, and they found out that around 40% of the respondents plan to invest about the same amounts as planned before in 2020 and 2021. So there is no change. This is mainly in the consultant, legal service, and chemical and pharmaceutical industries field. 35% intend to invest somewhat less. This is in the fast-moving consumer goods and several other sectors. Then 22% intend to invest much lower. Much lower means around 40% less. These were companies working in the travel, trade and distribution services and the hospitality sectors. And only healthcare and laboratory sectors were planning to invest even more than before. So the picture is quite nuanced. Well, 40% going on as normal, some going slightly lower, some even going strongly lower, and few going higher than before.
I don't think there's any surprises there, though, and that seems all quite logical, I have to say, according to the sectors.
It's quite logical, yeah. Indonesia receives good attention from the side of Swiss companies. Swiss companies are among, or Switzerland as such is one of the biggest investors from Europe. I think we ranked number 4 last year, with a stock of around close to 7 billion US dollars of investment in Indonesia. And this is, companies are at ease here, and many of them have plans to first consolidate their activities in this country.
I'm sure the Indonesian government is very happy to hear that. I mean, there is a very strong cooperation on a whole bunch of platforms, multilateral platforms and bilateral platforms. What's the most important aspect to you at the moment? I know this cooperation in COVID is very good, but let's move out of COVID into the future. Where are Switzerland and Indonesia going to be joined together in actions which benefit both the most? There's a lot of things that can be done to help each other, are there not?
Yeah, you're right. And I think Switzerland and Indonesia are really convinced multilateralists. We are convinced that the reliable and rules-based international order is at the heart of a stable and prosperous international system also. And this is the joint conviction in Switzerland and Indonesia, which is creating a strong fundament also for our bilateral relations in general, but also as you have been mentioning, when we come together, be it in New York or in Geneva or elsewhere. For Switzerland, as you know, and you have, I think you received a separate contribution, Geneva plays a crucial role also. Indonesia is a very strong player also. Indonesia is now a member of the UN Security Council 20 and 21. It is member of the UN Council on Human Rights. It is member of the ECOSOC. It is a very committed partner ASEAN also. And well, there is a lot of room for exchanges on all these topics. Switzerland itself will launch its candidacy for membership in the UN Security Council for the period 2023 to 2024 under the slogan, a plus for peace. Switzerland wants to be a plus for peace. And I'm sure that as time moving on, we will have a good opportunities to share experiences with Indonesia, which is now sitting in the Security Council, and we who are aspiring to be elected further on. Indonesia is also member of the G20, and Switzerland is an invited guest to sometimes to certain segments, and this year even for the full picture, full activities of the G20 activities. And this is also a field of exchange which we will continue to care for.
Good. Look, as I say, we're part of this MVP program, which is looking for sustainability. People who are not prepared to stand up and be counted correctly by fair systems cannot join into these agreements. I think that what you're requesting is more than fair, and hopefully Indonesia will come forward with the information that you require to make this 100% agreed on both sides. That's because of all the provisions that you have just talked about are absolutely fair for the people, for the environment, for the country. So I think that's very substantial.
The agreement contains the necessary ingredients to ensure what you have just been mentioned. Now in Switzerland, it is normal that the Swiss people has the last word. And this is not just happening for JEPA. We have so many votations, public votes, as you know. We go to vote 3 or 4 times every year. So we will have a debate on this issue, which will be a controversy. Pros and cons will be pondered. I think that the vote will happen next year. Probably in the first semester, and then we will know.
Good. Let us hope for an outcome which is beneficial to both parties. That's the most important thing. So, I mean, that's one of the things that all countries that you visited have. I mean, many of them have been developing countries in Central America and Africa, countries that have been trying to struggle out of poverty and into a new era. Mistakes are made. We made them in Europe as well. Let's not forget, maybe a little bit longer ago in history, but we've all fought our way through. Last thought, what is your favorite place for a holiday in Indonesia? When you say goodbye to diplomatic duties, where do you like to go and relax?
I don't know yet. I haven't seen everything. I have been to Bali, I've been to Lombok, I have been to Sulawesi, I have been to Sumatra, but I haven't seen many places I haven't seen yet. So I reserve my answer for later on. But
very diplomatic. That's why you're an ambassador. Very good indeed. And even though I've been here a long time, I'd join you. There's still places I want to see before I make my final decision.
Okay.
So on behalf of Now Jakarta and MVB, we are delighted to have had your presence with us today and your erudite and well-informed answers to all of our questions. Switzerland is indeed a very important partner with Indonesia across many different fields. We hope that you continue to be a friend to Indonesia and a friend to us in Now Jakarta as well. Ambassador, thank you very much for your time with us today, and we wish you best fortune and safe and healthy life for all of you, your family, and the Swiss Embassy. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Also, thank you very much for offering us this possibility now in your August edition to be present. to present different parts of what we do here in this country. And I will be delighted and very pleased to continue also contacts and cooperation with you. Thank you very much.